not to sit. To sit. Or not to sit. Oh. I don't want to break it. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is it on?
A little closer.
No?
Just a little closer.
A little closer. Maybe not to sit. That's it. To sit. Sit like that. Okay, so I'm sitting there in the emergency room alone. My knee is caked with blood and I am clutching a swollen and throbbing left arm. And all I can think of is that stupid saying that bad things only come in threes. And so I'm thinking, well, at least now I should be safe. So number one, I have just gone through the worst breakup in the history of time. My boyfriend, who I was totally in love with, had dumped me for a master's degree on the other side of the world. Number two, I'd had to move out of the place we were living in together and was staying with my parents. My father, who communicates exclusively in grunts, and my mildly alcoholic mother. And number three, the series of events that had left me sitting on my own in the emergency room at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning. So after the breakup, I was a total mess. I could barely get through a day without excusing myself to the bathroom several times to cry into my lap. But here's another stupid saying, time heals all wounds. And actually, after a few weeks, I started to feel mildly, ever so mildly, less shit. And I'd managed to find a new place to live, so I decided one Friday night that I would go out for a few drinks with some friends after work. And I was due to move into my new place the next day. So I did. I went out for a couple of drinks, not too many. And at about midnight, I decided to head home. I had friends coming over the next day, early in the morning, to help me move, and I didn't want to be too tired. And so I sat on the bus, and as I sat on the bus on the way home, I started thinking, gosh, I might just get out of this. You know, my daily breakdowns were becoming less frequent. I'd managed to sit a whole evening in a bar without crying. I think I'd even managed to smile a couple of times. And I was moving house the next day. I was escaping the hell of my parents' house. So I got off the bus and I felt that little buzz of optimism and I decided to run home. And as I started running through the streets, the adrenaline kicked in and I actually felt good. And then out of nowhere, this curb appears in front of me, and all of a sudden I am flying through the air and land face down on the concrete. And I feel blood starting to trickle down a huge tear in my stockings at my knee. And I realize that my entire body weight has landed right on my left elbow. So I managed to pick myself up and I limp home. And as I'm rummaging through the bathroom cabinet, my mother bursts in to see what all the noise is about. Finally, I think, someone is going to help me. And I look up into her cognac-glazed eyes, and I realize she will be of no use to me whatsoever. So I shoo her off to bed, and I continue my rummaging through the cabinet. And, you know, despite the fact that my father is actually a doctor, there is not an item of first aid equipment in the cabinet. There's not even a Band-Aid. The only thing I can find to stop the bleeding on my knee is a menstrual pad. So I open it up and I sort of fashion it around my knee and I strap it down with masking tape and I crawl into bed. And it must have been close to 1 o'clock in the morning at this time, in those 5 hours between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. when I hear my father get up, as he does every morning, like clockwork. I did not sleep a week. So I wait till after I hear my dad have his coffee. That's important. And I whimper out, "Dad, And it takes a while for him to hear me, but finally I get a response. What? Can you come here? So he reluctantly thumps down the stairs and opens the door again. What? I think I broke my arm, I say to him. And I look him in the eye, and at this point I know for certain that he and I are having the same flashback. I was 9 years old, some 15 years earlier, and we were on a family holiday in Europe, and we'd arrived late at night in Rome, in the train station, and being a slightly hyperactive 9-year-old, I insisted on riding the luggage trolley, fell off onto my left arm, actually. But my dad, he was not going to let a broken arm ruin his Roman holiday. So after a couple of squeezes and a little bit of a move to the left and a move to the right and a pat on the back, he assures me that I'm fine. And we head on to the hotel. And in the middle of the night, sick with pain, I wake him up and insist that he takes me to the hospital, and guess what? Yeah, it was broken. So anyway, fast forward again, I'm lying in bed, and the parallel gets even better because I remember at this point that my parents have a weekend away planned. They're getting ready to leave first thing that morning. All right, my dad says, we'll drop you at the hospital on our way out. So, as if that wasn't shit enough, in the car on the way, my father takes great joy in telling me that I will be, without doubt, the PFO of the morning. Apparently in emergency rooms, that's a thing. Every Saturday and Sunday morning there is at least one person who is pissed and fell over. The PFO. So they drop me off and I get in line and I'm waiting for my x-ray, and while I'm waiting I think, gosh, maybe someone can help me with my knee. So I ask the nurse to help me clean up my knee. And, things look different with the benefit of time and hindsight. But right then, I can tell you, her shrieks of laughter at my improvised bandage were just not funny. So then it doesn't help that the doctor is super cute. He x-rays my arm and it's apparently still too swollen to be able to see what's actually going on under there. But just to be safe, he says, we're going to put it in a cast. And not just any cast. He gets me from my shoulder to my wrist, locking my arm at 90 degrees. I can't do anything. At this point, the irony is not lost on me that right when I need someone to help me bathe myself, clothe myself, feed myself, is right when I've been abandoned by my boyfriend. So I finally get home that morning and I sit down on the couch and I secretly hope that the couch will swallow me up. And the doorbell rings. And I'm like, fuck, what could happen now? How could this possibly get worse? I am filled with dread. And I hobble up to the front door and I open it, and it's two of my best friends in the world, Tom and Ben. And they're there to help me move. I had totally forgotten. So I bring them in and I start to complain about how fucked everything is. And how I'm going to be stuck at my parents' house for God knows how much longer. And they look at me and they don't say a word and they just start moving. And they move every single box and they dismantle my bed and they put it back together again in my brand new room. And as I'm lying there in bed that night, I think of another stupid saying. But at least this cloud did have a silver lining.